What you gonna do when we come for you? Come!
Hello and welcome to an evening with Comrades. Tonight we have with us Eugene.
How's it going, people?
We also have with us Pac-Man.
Let's get this party started! Woo!
We also have with us Glassix.
Hello, everyone.
And possibly joining us later will be Goulash Guy. He may or may not be here. And I will be your host, TK Jones. So if you have one, grab a cold one and open it with the boys.
I'm way ahead of
I
you,
was saving a bottle of lemonade this whole time just to get the nice and you had to burp right over it, bastard.
Because I start early, fuckers. That's right, because you know what's happening right now? We are motherfucking accelerating, boys. The markets are crashing. The nukes are warming up. We're getting ready to go. My comrades in the aquatic revolutionary movement are telling me that things are fucking happening.
That's right, because tonight we're going to be first quickly discussing the Bitcoin bubble bursting and the Dow Jones crash, and then talking a little bit about leftist undertones in TV and movies. But of course, first, this could be it. This could be the massive crash we've been waiting for, and keeping that in mind, how are we doing, lads? How are our bank accounts?
My bank account's fine. I've got a nice reserve. I'm originally planning on, actually, a little bit of EML trivia, coming to hang out with TK Jones himself in a couple of weeks. So
yes.
Expect some Eastern Marshlands content live and in the studio. At least I hope so.
Live from the hills of Sovereign Hill.
Yeah, complete with mask and Posadist lifestyleism. Oh, actually, I've got 3 new Posadist themed shirts that arrived recently, including my limited edition custom-made Eurekan Posadist gang, which I am currently wearing right now, as a point of fact. Just make sure to join the Eurekan Posadist gang, the thermonuclear response to Anglo-imperialism. Now, my bank account's looking great because after I visit TK in the wonderful sovereign hills of Ballarat, I am also going to be catching a quick flight to SeaWorld at this rate.
To free the orcas?
Don't ask me why. I have a meeting with certain park officials. However, they're not the bourgeois park officials, let me put it that way. They are, in fact, pretty highly ranked. They are the stars of the show, after all. But keep it posted. The aquatic bourgeoisie will soon be overthrown. Mark my words. How's everyone else doing?
Well, I'm planning on buying a new computer as since the Bitcoin is crashing. Maybe the computer parts price will return to normal.
I know, fucking hey, right. I need to buy a new computer as well. $2,000 gaming PC that would have cost me $3,000 before. Here I come.
And how are you, Eugene? How are you holding up in this new economic turmoil?
I personally just see it as a funny little thing. You know, I don't really think this sort of it's the fall. You know, because it's just a fall like that. I expect every day, so I'm not really surprised, to be honest. I'm happy to see that it will be fun to look at the experts on the economy who will be sitting. Oh, we couldn't have expected it. I don't know. We're figuring out why it happened and stuff like this. They'll be sitting there trying to act smart and whatnot. Then they will find some sort of exploit in the market, and they'll be like, "Hey, we banned this. Now we've fixed it all. Good job. High five, let's go home and have a drink." And then, like, in a year or so, it will be a massive crush that will, like, overshadow anything that happened the previous year. And then it all will happen once again until the communist revolution will finally emerge out of the giant fucking economic crisis.
It's interesting how you
I
say
am
there's
thinking,
this
yeah.
told you so kind of thing, because I've just Googled it. Currently, 1 Bitcoin will now get you 8,000 Australian dollars, as opposed to the 25,000 it used to about a month or so ago. So, yeah. So this whole thing of this joke where, you know, person A says to person B, "Oh, Bitcoin, that's just a bubble," over and over again, and the other person's just getting richer and richer. Well, it looks as though the addition to that, where it ends up in a Mad Maxian society like the Thunderdome thing, is true, because now everybody who thought they were incredibly rich and they were just going to ride this wave and crash the not crash, but puncture the $30,000 limit, it isn't going to happen. There's this what I think is happening, or what I've read, is there's that panic sell where it dropped to like 20,000 and it started to go back up. People panicked and thought, "Oh no, it's never going to go back up," and everyone has just sold everything. They're just selling as much as possible.
I mean,
yeah,
it's just, selling what is the high was the only reasonable thing to do. Instead of expecting magic, baseless money to make you magically rich. Welcome to the real world, Garden Caps.
Oh man, I'm just so fucking keen. Am I keen?
There is a bad news about that. That means all your encampment based on Bitcoin are obsolete now.
Well, the thing I really like about this Bitcoin crash is because there was a bunch of far-right movements in America, possibly Australia as well, where they're basing their funding off of Bitcoin. And you could donate Bitcoin to them. So they were incredibly, powerful and having rallies every month because Bitcoin was worth like 20,000 Australian dollars, or like even more, even around the same in American. Now all of a sudden Bitcoins are not worthless, but just dropped, just tanked. They've lost their main source of funding, which means they're not able to have rallies every month. So this is a really good thing. This stability of the right is just gone.
Well, that's assuming the right had any stability in the first place. But no, what really is really satisfying about this is our last stream. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but if you remember, I made a video recently confirming the fact that socialism or barbarism is in fact a Posadist. But he said at the very start of the stream, when people look back on this video and say, "Oh my God, we were right. We projected the collapse of capitalism and the accelerationism into the workers' revolution," the very next week, the market crashes. We were fucking right, ladies and gentlemen. The party started.
We keep telling people that capitalism is inherently detrimental, and that it's just going to cause collapse after collapse in on itself. It's going to be worse every time, and no one believes us. No one believes us.
The irony is that I only found out this was going on later this afternoon because I looked at my phone. I was like, wait, what the fuck has happened? Like, left book and lefty pole just exploded. And I just sort of wondered what the hell was going on. I saw Batco's video on his take on it, and I looked at everything that was going on. And I was just like, holy shit. Because all day I had been listening to people talking on, like, my phones at work, talking about life and everything. But in between phone calls, I had been reading my trusty copy of Reform or Revolution by Rosa Luxemburg. And the entire first chapter of that book is just basically her telling some reformist piece of shit, look, capitalism can't be reformed, it's going to implode. Credit is going to implode capitalism. And like, I'm reading that all day, and then suddenly the market crashes, and I'm like, it's a sign. It's a fucking sign.
That's
It's a
amazing.
sign.
Glorious ghosts of communists of the past. This has been very good. Thank you. I will commence to the bunker.
No, but that's the thing. It's been 100 years almost since Rosa was killed by the Nazis, and I'm just sort of thinking to myself,
But
100 years in the future. 100 years in the future, Rosa's ghost has crashed the stock market.
I
He's
just,
Yes.
decided,
I just love that image of like a big CEO looking at the graph of the Dow Jones as it's just tanking, and he's like, "Thank you. Today was a good day. I will be in my bunker. I will see you after the revolution." Pulls a switch, and like automated turrets pop up, and he's just closes the door.
Yeah.
this is the end.
Oh. Talking about the end, you know what really will be ended today? It will be my consciousness, because the topic of our discussion today, like the leftist movies and shows and whatnot, right? And I was like, hey, I should Google that, you know, because I was like, what movie should I talk about, right? I Google it, and I find an amazing website that I endorse completely, 100% recommend to everyone. It's called conservapedia.com. Are you familiar with this website?
I'm already
Oh.
shuddering in the thought of this.
Conservapedia is the most amazing fucking thing ever. Like, not only, like, you know what is leftist propaganda? Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of Crystal Skull is propaganda. You know why? Because despite the fact that the communists are the baddies there, and that it winks to Indiana Jones being a Republican, or the fact that he likes Eisenhower and whatnot, right? It refuses to accept, like it says in the movie. Let me quote directly here. The film also depicts McCarthyism in an negligible light, with one character implying that the American government was simply being paranoid and denies there being a sizable communist infiltration in America, and also seeks to promote paganism in form of the Crystal Skull.
Oh,
I love this.
I
It's a
just
pagan communist
Googled it.
propaganda.
I just googled it, right, and I feel so dirty having looked at it at that website that I now need to go take a shower after this live stream.
Yeah. Do you know the Iron Giant, like cartoon?
Yeah, I know the Iron Giant.
Yeah, let me quote directly. I will
God.
The titular Iron Giant, at one point, while launching a triad against blah blah blah, alludes the possibility that the communists may have been responsible for the Giant's creation as a means to destroy America, and that they was destroyed before it destroys us, and it treated negatively on it. Blah blah blah. Also features some foul language. So, Iron Giant is built by communists to destroy America. I love this. Is this what you meant, Tiki, when you said that we must talk about our favorite movies with leftist connotations?
Yeah,
because I found some.
Because there's different TV shows where if you stretch it enough, you can say
movie.
I'm sorry. Dr. Robotnik represents the authoritarian bourgeois, and Sonic is the anarcho-syndicalists fighting against him, because you can see in the way that Sonic spins around that he's trying to create some kind of horizontal spin. And this spinning is actually trying to redistribute the wealth, but of course Dr. Robotnik fights against it. You could take it far.
B-movie is on the list. B-movie is on the list.
Fucking B-movie? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Okay.
Movie fascist propaganda.
B-movie, fucking hell.
All right, how does it say the B-movie is leftist propaganda?
Let me read it verbatim for you, because this is this is amazing.
But there is something about collectivism in that.
Actually, I don't think they mention it. Let me have it. It's debatable whether or not it is environmentalist or against it. it does show the destructiveness of environmentalism. Example, butting into nature's problems in the name of helping her. Whatever that means, it's really badly written. The anti-human sentiments in the movie turned out to be wrong. However, the humans are taking the honey made by the bees, similar to the welfare program of taking from those who worked for it. Oh, this is what you see. You see what they did there? They said that the capitalists are the real workers and they are getting exploited by the welfare system. Love it.
Oh,
Others believe the movie promotes bestiality and it is just disguised as a family movie. See? See? Like, they're like, well, it's like, it looks at exploitation and frames exploitation as a human right, like we should, you know? This is what Kochschott even said. Exploitation is a human rights question. But they're like, oh, no. It's actually the rich and the welfare and the taxes that is like exploitation. Love it. And then they say that some people even say it promotes bestiality. So they are quite like...
Don't you mean bestiality?
Excuse me?
Bestiality.
bestiality.
Ah. Fuck.
Oh. I'm sorry I've zoned
It's
out of this live
okay.
stream because thank you for introducing me to Conservapedia, because this is just a fucking meme factory. Oh my
Monty
lord.
Python is obviously here. It's really good. It's really good. The Last
No.
Temptation of Christ, obviously. Hercules. It's really good.
See,
No,
this
here's
this
really
is
good.
this is an interesting thing wherein you have people on the right or conservatives who try to find leftist undertones, but say it in a negative thing, like, "Oh, this show is bad because it shows leftist undertones," and they're fucking pointing at the B movie and saying it, whereas.
Mhm.
You could take, say, possibly a positive look. I think, Glatix, you were going to mention something about it with what
Yeah,
was it?
the Smurf.
Yeah,
Oh,
Smurfs. Tell us about the Smurfs.
well, if you look closely at the Smurf, they live in a classless, moneyless society, where they make stuff because they need to make on a use basis. So, but I want to talk about the comics more specifically because there is one comics of the Smurf where it's about a Smurf trying to introduce capitalism or money, to be more specific, to the Smurf community. And everything crashes, everything goes wrong, and at the end they abandon the system and go back to moneyless society.
Exactly. Smurfs have been communist since the day one, I tell you. They are the only thing that... Wait, what year did the Smurfs came out? Like, when did they appear?
Started maybe in the 60s, can't remember. And I'll have
60s.
to
It's
go.
Euro communism. It's Belgian Euro communism. It's 58.
I
Yes.
couldn't find if the author was a communist, but I know his older brother was fought the Nazi.
Huh. Very
Fascinating.
cool. It is communist. Like, and this is why. And you know what? If you look at like, I don't know, like places like Conservapedia, if you present them like Smurfs, they'll be like, yeah, that's clearly communist. We should ban it. Blah blah blah. They
Yeah,
will see communism in there outright, and they will say that it is not only promotes that, but also it is programs children into hating capitalism.
Well, I've got a really good one here. I've naturally, me being me, the first thing I googled was what their take on anime was. Just out of
God damn it, you fucking weird. I kid.
Yeah, I know. Thanks for helping me with this display picture, by the way, TK. Really helpful. Thank you.
I worked hard on that. I put a lot of emotional labor into that.
Exactly. No, but and I quote directly: anime fans are one of the most looked down upon groups of people in the popular world for good reason. such as they react to most things in common with liberals, who react in a fashion to any criticism of their sacred cows, like global warming, the homosexual agenda, abortion, feminism, socialism, and Islam. They often react
I
in
love
extreme,
English.
histrionic, and illogic fashions to any criticism of the anime genre. Okay. Woof. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna look up to see if they've done, because they have a jab at Pokemon saying that Pokemon is anti-Christian because of Mewtwo, considering his existence, considering that only God can create real life. The fact that only God can create real life, the fact that humans create Mewtwo, and he questions his existence, it associates humans with having the power of God, so they, slam it for being heresy.
Oh my god.
It's like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein just completely missed their radar, like they haven't read a book.
I mean, they're conservative, so reading is probably forbidden because he gives them liberal ideas.
Well, you see, reading would allow people to think, and if they think, then they're not listening to what it is they're supposed to be doing. Because they got to listen to us, and we tell them what to do. If they think, they may think that capitalism isn't good, and then that's where we have to step in. Damn it!
All right, here's a party. Okay, let's see what the Conservapedia has to say about atheism.
Oh, here we go.
Alrighty. Atheism. Wow. No. Hey. No. Hold up. Hold up. 1 second. We have a guest joining us.
Oh, someone's on their way.
Hmm?
Someone's on their way. 1 second.
You know what? I really believe that we should dedicate the whole episode on Conservapedia and just jumping around it, because you know what? I did the easiest thing ever, and I just Googled the word socialism in there.
Oh my god.
And I will just mention who are the pictures. First pictures that you see on the page. First one is Hitler. Right on the top. There's a Hitler picture. It's there. He's doing the Hitler salute. Great. The next one is Mises. And then you have Obama and a Maoist poster compared to each other. This is amazing.
Oh my
This
god.
website compares Obama to, like, my favorite meme is Obama is a communist meme. I love it. If you go to our Discord server, excuse me, what did you say?
It's time for me to go. So, see ya.
Oh, you have to go.
Thanks
Oh,
for
sure.
coming,
Thank you for
Alex.
appearing.
We'll have
It's
you
okay.
I
on
might
next
come back
time.
if it's not over before when I.
We
come
have
back.
we have a very special guest joining us shortly.
Okay, while the guest is joining, I'd like to point out on our Discord server, I love this meme so much that we have a special reaction, which is the Obama hope symbol with the hammer and sickle in red and white. This is specifically when the liberals are doing the liberal shit and they're like, oh, what are you, fucking Mao Zedong? And I love it. I love it. It's so good. It's like a hope poster and there is a Maoist poster right next to it. Conservapedia is the best website on the internet. I
Ladies
love
and
it.
gentlemen,
I don't know.
please welcome Batco.
Hello. Sorry for arriving
Hello,
late.
Batco.
It's all
I
good,
was
Batco.
basically just fucking. I was on the phone with a couple of mates, and we were just talking about the massive fucking drop
Yeah.
in the fucking stock market.
Get ready to party!
Started like it's 1917, boys, because maybe, just maybe, we might be getting something. We might see something come. But I was
Are
surprised.
you sure?
I mean, I'm hoping, but I mean, we've had the global.
I'm the only one who's skeptical. Yeah.
I am skeptical because, I mean, we've had stuff like the global financial crisis, and there wasn't much of a revolution that came from that. But I got to tell you, man, with this thing, who knows? Because I think people, but I'm not too sure if it's gonna occur. I'm not too sure if it's going to, kind of open up a whole new gateway. But I think that people, are really going to start growing more class conscious. I just wish that it was just that it just didn't happen as soon as it did. right now.
It seems like it's a signal of things to come, wherein the market isn't just going to fluctuate slightly; it's going to hit the deck and then rise to the roof and then hit the deck even harder over and over again.
Yeah. So, like, there can only be so many market crashes that people are just going to get so fucking fed up with them that they're just going to say, "Well, this is just bullshit. I can't fucking stand this cycle anymore."
We live in hope,
We'll
but
see
I'd like
what
to.
will happen. Yeah,
I'd like,
Backo?
I don't know if you if it's sunk in with you there, Backo, but it turns out that Soccer Bob was right. Like,
What about what?
no, remember last stream you were here. He fucking said, "Oh, the next crash is coming and it's gonna be fucking glorious." And then the very next week, the stock market just fucking.
Oh my
plummeted.
god!
Bitcoin bubble bursts. The
Holy
Dow
fucking
Jones
shit.
drops 1,500.
Is Zuckerberg secretly like a fucking prophet?
No, Soccer Bob is a Posadist in disguise. He's one of my guys.
Holy
He's
shit!
he's been undercover all along.
He was actually right. Holy shit!
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was right. And the funniest thing was, he said at the start of the stream, he's like, "When we turn out to be right, people are gonna hail us as gods." Well, guess what? We were fucking right. We fucking called it.
Render unto us, for we are God.
Okay,
All I know
all right, get this. At 7 p.m. today, Australian time, fucking DAX, DAX, the performance index just opened, and by the looks of it, it's down 3.57%
Oof.
in one day.
Oh. I'm looking at, I don't know if I'm reading it right. It says DAX Performance Index for 6th of Feb.
Now we have to wait for 6 hours until we see what happens.
It says 1.84% in the red.
And get this, Europe joins stock sell-off with biggest drop in 20 months. The stock Europe 600 index fell 2.6% as of 8:16 a.m. in London, with all industry groups firmly in the red. So it's all in the red, boys. Where there's something's.
I'm all in the red.
You are all in the red.
Well, it looks like there's this massive panic after the Dow Jones, thinking it's a panic sell-off because they're trying to protect what they can and not try to risk it all to gain more and then lose everything.
All right, we actually have a surprise guest on our show. Come over here. Come over here. Tell me, average working man, my father, what do you think about the collapse of capitalist markets today? Down by 4% over every market in the world. How do you feel?
Pretty threatened, since I ain't working and I've got bloody money in the bank and it's likely to plummet. So you might be out on the streets. How do you feel now?
I tell you how I feel. It means that there's a ton of other people of your generation in the same boat. And they've got nothing to lose now. Who do you think created me as a commie? Who do you think is responsible?
Good boy.
Pac-Man's dad.
No, Dad, you have nothing to lose but your change. Shut your mouth. Yo,
So,
Dad, are we going to the streets
My dad's a
to
Nazbol.
burn the banks?
My dad's
man,
fucking Nazbol.
we can only hope. We can only hope. I mean, talk about a drop of the falling rate of profit. Jesus Christ. That's a big crash.
Woof!
That's a big crash. That's a
So,
over crash.
Yeah.
so as we were talking before you came on, Batco,
Yeah.
we're talking about it's such big news and whatnot. It's sort of distracting from it, but we were talking about TV shows and movies that have leftist undertones.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if you had anything in specific you wanted to mention.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, with Bane.
Yeah.
The thing is, I mean, in a sense, it does have leftist themes. Although it's not a leftist movie, it does actually particularly address leftist themes. Like, for example, I think we could definitely we could actually analyze this through the opening scene of The Dark Knight Rises, because basically what we have here is the CIA, of course, big, imposing, all true blue American patriot, bit of a hothead. But the thing is, though, is that what he fails to understand is that he fails to basically unmask the underlying problems within society, which is basically manifested within the man known as Bane. And he says, if I pull that mask off, will you die? And Bane says it would be extremely painful. And CIA says, you're a big guy, for you. Well, the thing is that what he meant by taking off the mask was actually basically lifting off the spectacle of various people. Basically of the whole spectacle that keeps people indoctrined within the system of capitalism. So basically, if I pull that off, will you die? It would be extremely painful. Basically, what CIA alludes to in the removal of the mask is that it is basically the removal of the spectacle and the untold chaos it may bring. But the thing is, Bane is able to slowly invert this on its head and say, rather than it would be extremely painful for a man such as myself, it would be extremely painful for you. However, of course, albeit this isn't necessarily in the final cut, because what CIA says, you're a big guy, and then Bane says, for you. What he basically does mean by that is that, choppy editing aside, thanks to Bravo Nolan, is basically, he's basically addressing the giant amount of class consciousness which Bane himself presents. And what's funny about this class consciousness is that Bane, as a matter of fact, acts more or less as a Posadist as opposed to your typical Marxist-Leninist or ANCOM, especially in the Marxist-Leninist category, because he kind of serves as a bit of a vanguard. But basically, in a sense, what he does bring about is a sense of revolution. What he does want to do is basically cleanse Gotham, its corrupt nature from the realms of the earth. And basically, by that, he basically kind of wants to instigate a new form of material conditions in which Gotham can rebuild itself from the ground up. So in a sense, basically, what Batman is fighting is a Posadist in the greatest sense. It's not explicitly stated, but it's implied that, of course, Bane wants to. Well, he wants to, but he wants to nuke Gotham.
Yeah, but it wasn't like Posadist was not literally about nuking. It's about instigating the conflict into a nuclear war between powers. I would say, I would agree with you, and I would just correct you in saying that Bane and his insurrection could see as anti-civilization insurrection.
So basically,
anti-civ, post-left.
So in a sense, basically, Bane, in a sense, kind of was a Marxist, kind of drew heavily from both Marxist-Leninist and anarchist theory and placed it into his practice, being both anti-civ, but also kind of having a bit more of an illegalist, means about going about it, because he did work as a mercenary. And basically also just...
freed the people. He abolished prisons as the first thing.
That's very anarchist. Yeah. So, yeah.
He abolished the prisons, but then enacted courts.
True, yeah.
But people's courts.
People's courts, yeah. It was either death or exile.
Yeah. I would just like to say that his form of exile, they were forced to walk across the ice, so perhaps he actually is a Posadist, because then he's feeding those people to my fish comrades beneath the sea.
True.
And I think they do need to eat, mutual aid for fish comrades.
With the amount of pollution that's in the Gotham River, do you really think that anything...
Which means they would have been mutated, which means they're more Posadist than anyone.
They need
let's just be clear. We are talking about Gotham City here.
Yeah. We are.
Very true. What do you think about... what about that interview with Nolan, where he stated that Bane was the personification of the Occupy Wall Street movement?
There's another aspect to it, because I do
radical
think that,
liberalism.
Well, that's very funny, because basically, as a matter of fact, I actually think that maybe if Bane actually had access to a guillotine, we'd probably be seeing more heads fly off, to be honest. Yeah. So basically, I mean, you could argue that basically Bane was like a Posadist, post-left anti-civ Jacobin, yeah.
It's a Jacobin.
I love Bane now.
Get ahead of ourselves here, Batman.
Oh yeah. Oh yes, Batman.
Yes, Batman.
Oh, yes. I fucking love that voice. I pull that off, will you die? It would be extremely painful. You're a big guy for you.
It's such a pun. It's like, you're a big guy for you. It's like,
yeah.
It's so
like, the sexual innuendo within that scene is also quite Arousing.
Yeah. You know why there is sexual innuendos in that scene? Because if Bane represents the insurrection proletariat and CIA represents the government, literal CIA, you know?
Yeah, literal.
It shows the sexual innuendos there are, and like Bane rebelling against CIA is like basically government attempts to seduce the working class with social democracy, and the proletariat refuses reforms, and they take the action into their own hands and go out of the jump above their head and destroy the whole fucking plane and liberate themselves.
Yeah, crash the plane.
Well, that would make Batman an ANCAP. So Batman gets the wall.
Yeah, Batman. Batman is a bourgeois fuck. I mean, here's the thing.
He's a fascist.
Batman is the personification of
fascism and conservatism of America, like literally.
Exactly.
Like even jokes aside, like he is conservative in everything, in his ideology, and how he thinks about justice. He's like, hey, we must lie and break rules in order to spy on every single person in Gotham so that we can save Gotham. It's like the only way to save the people is to remove agency from their hands and give it to the guy with the most money, who knows best, because he is rich and he has a bat suit.
He doesn't even believe in trying to change the conditions around someone to make criminal acts not even an option. Because if someone has food forever, then they would never need to steal food. But Batman doesn't want to give them or make it so that they can have food. He's just
because he's extremely ideological.
Yeah,
it's not that he's insane.
He has stolen bread. I won't make a bread factory. I'll beat him up and break his spine and crush all his bones, and then tie him up to a flagpole and wait for the cops to arrest him. Like,
get a load of this,
man.
This city just showed you it's full of people who I believe are ready to believe in my version of good.
Yeah,
I actually watched the full like visual comic, I suppose you can call it, of Red Superman.
And I actually own the physical copy of Superman Red Sun.
Oh, dude, I watched it in full, and I just felt like commenting on the YouTube video, this but unironically. Uphold Marxism, Leninism, Supermanism.
Literally. Like the real Man of Steel kind of became an actual Man of Steel.
Yeah.
I read Red Sun before I was like politically awoken into socialism and whatnot, and I'm like, if this was real, I would absolutely love it. But the part I was saying was like, it wasn't like, I wished Superman had landed in Siberia and we could live under this world. No, I was thinking like, look, these people, they're not hungry. These people are safe. There's no war for them. They have jobs they can go to. They have houses they can live in. I want that. I want that to be real. But it's like I'm getting it from a comic book written to satirize the USSR. I'm like, what kind of aim is this? It's really weird. And when I watched Bane, at first I was like, man, he actually seems like he's doing some interesting things. However, on the flip side, compared to Red Sun, I was saying like, oh god, I hope no one like Bane exists, because to me, he's replacing Batman's fascism with Bane's old idea of freedom. Because like, he gets rid of the cops, sure, but then he says, oh, no one can leave Gotham. And it's like,
I guess he's like an Anprim, you could say.
I was gonna say that's why I kind of would associate Bane being more Marxist-Leninist, because he implements a vanguard, and it's kind of a and what it is that of course he does use his authority to round up revisionists and counter-revolutionaries. In a sense, he kind of made Gotham City East Germany. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, West Germany, post-capitalist hellhole that it is. It's just, I look at that show and that whole franchise even, and I just kind of I can feel like the sort of leftist undertones, especially Bane's. I think you're right. I think what really made me sort of like it is that Bane, even though to us it's really, really sort of obvious that we sort of sympathize with him, besides the raging conservatives, Bane is one of those really good bad guys who you can see his angle and you understand why he's doing what he. When he takes down the stock market, are you telling me that not at least half the working class people in the world, even the ones who sort of lean conservative, some of them are the bunch who go like, don't tread on me. Even they are like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, dude, go for it. You know,
there's that line.
That's that line. It's like, you can't steal from anyone here. This is a stock exchange. And then Bane says, oh yeah, well, why are you here?
Why are you here? The other line I really like is when some guy's like, "Oh my god, they're hitting the stock exchange." It's like, what money is there? Like, I keep my money in a mattress, and then the guy's like, "If Bane does what we think he's doing, the money in your mattress isn't going to be worth anything when he's done." That line, I think, has some pretty it's just that line is pretty woke. I think someone like snuck it in, like. To really and there would have been pushback from like the higher ups at like Warner Brothers or whatever, because
this is what the left let's put it in. It's like, let's put this shit in.
The more I think about it, the more I realize that superheroes nowadays aren't really fucking heroes at all. Because if they really gave a shit about saving people, they wouldn't fucking perpetuate like some of the system, or at least add some sort of reform in it. Think about it. Like, our most recent superhero that we got is Black Panther. Now, basically, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's great that we are getting a person of color to be in a leading role in his own superhero film with a majority black cast." This will and like a lot of social scientists are saying, because Wakanda is kind of portrayed as a incredibly futuristic, technologically advanced country. That it would compel younger African American youths and other African youths to take up the sciences and engineering and so on and so forth. It might because because they showed that after Brave, the Pixar movie came out, a lot of young women, took an interest in archery. But the problem which I have with this, however, is that Black Panther himself is a capitalist monarch who is not only incredibly isolationist, but refuses to give any of the advanced technology that he and his country have been able to manifest within their civilization and distribute it to other countries within Africa. They still have third world countries.
Anti-imperialism.
Yeah, they still have third world.
No. Yes, Wakanda is a technologically advanced nation because they had natural resources that are extremely rare and exist only in that country. What happened to this sort of lands in our world?
What do you mean exactly? Oh, you mean
colonization? They colonized the fuck out of Africa with all the rare resources, with all the rare metals, diamonds and gold and rare rubber and woods, lumber. And on another note, in this universe, Wakanda is that country, but on steroids. They have this fucking metal that is crazy as fuck, right? That like the shield of Captain America is made out of it, and they resisted colonialism, and they managed to build up basically a first world country out of fucking nowhere. And I believe if we have to remove some context. We have to remove this. Oh, there are other poor countries around it. Because I still believe it is really interesting that they made this sort of, a third world country. They said, no, those guys actually didn't have exploitation and colonialism, and they managed to build themselves up.
But they still had monarchy. They still had monarchy.
They do.
But it seems as if the filmmakers are admitting, like, oh, if the Wakandans resisted colonialism, which meant that they could become like as powerful as America or Russia, which means they admit that if there was no colonialism in Africa, then Africa would have become this super state.
But even then, here's the thing which really does tick me off. These superheroes have I know that it's I think what's interesting about it is that they still perpetuate this idea that these superheroes are great people, they save the world and whatnot. But the thing is that when you start to look at it, they kind of still maintain either the boot heel of like the system they are in, basically embodied within Iron Man, because he basically, as he quotes, privatized world peace. But yet there's still conflict. There's still poverty, lack of distribution, and the UN is still within power, and they still have authority over it. As far as I'm concerned, ironically enough, the only superhero with who I could somewhat sympathize with, because he didn't like the whole idea of establishment, and he actually, dare I say, gave a shit about his fellow man, which really kind of actually flies in the face of the flag that he bears, is Captain America. He actually basically said, well, I think our best governance is in our own hands, and he even was able to point out that the system is fucked. There's corruption within it, and that needs to be changed. And eventually, what he did is that he basically decided not to partake in that anymore. So, ironically enough, in a sense, this guy is basically, I mean, the hero that we could also, in a sense, aspire to be would be like Captain America. But the problem is that, again, they still kind of perpetuate some of the systems that they're in. Yeah.
Well, this is the big irony that I've said, and that I know a lot of people give me shit for, but it's that the biggest hope I think we have in a lot of ways is that sort of idea. Like, the problem with America, in terms of, besides it being a colonial slave state founded by fucking, psychopaths, is that the core ideals that they espouse, like small government, like autonomy for the worker, autonomy for the average guy, they're values that the American state does not uphold, yet the American proletariat holds very, very close to its heart. And Captain America is one of those people who's like, he basically, as we say all the time on this show, he believes the bullshit. He believes in what America is supposed to stand for, and freedom, justice, anti-imperialism, and instead he sees, what does he see? Capitalism, war for profit, imperialism, murder, mass destruction, death, and he sort of turns around and goes, you know what? Fucking no. This is not what we're supposed to be about.
Hello.
Is there a...
I'm sorry, anti-Wakandan Belarusian nationalists destroyed my internet. I'm back.
I saw that you were in and out. Okay. My question would be to all three of you is, we've got superheroes who perpetuate the status quo and imperialism. We've got superheroes who question it. Are there, in a more broad sense, are there characters from TV shows and movies who we could call our comrades, who are actively trying to stop exploitation, inequality, and so on and so forth?
Like literally rail against capitalism.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that most of these people would basically be deemed as villains. As far as I'm concerned, the only person who probably came as close to basically taking down crime and corruption within the city was Red Hood from Batman Under the Red Hood. He basically thought that Batman's liberal idea of no, don't kill, they got to be brought before the law, etc. He basically said, well, no, that really is not good enough. And basically what you have is that you have corrupt cops and a corrupt system. And he sought to take it all down. So that's as close as you could probably get.
I'm sorry, but wasn't so I remember somebody mentioning then in one, those out of the other world stories of DC, the Red Hood was fighting among anarcho-syndicalists in Spain.
Wait, what?
Somebody fucking mentioned it to me. That in one of the comics, which is like, alternative history sort of things and a different setting sort of things, Red Hood was in Spain with CNTFII. I have no fucking idea what happened, where it was, and who even told me that. Maybe it was Bobby or someone else. I don't remember.
I don't really think that's true because I'm looking it up now and I can't really see anything. So let me just look this up. Alternative versions of.
It's so interesting.
Yeah. So while you're looking that up, there's sort of a character I want to mention from a Netflix series that I've been watching recently, and it's not even a cryptic thing. It's from the TV show called Damnation on Netflix, and the character is a preacher who is agitating in a small town to get a bunch of farmers to organize and strike for better conditions and whatnot. He is a comrade. He's a guy you can really get behind because he's organizing the workers. But I think the response to this kind of character is interesting, wherein the antagonists are a group called the Black Legion, which are actually an offshoot of the KKK, where it's like the writers thought that this Bolshevik agitating communist is so evil, to make him the protagonist, we had to find an offshoot of the KKK that's even more KKK than the KKK.
So this is what?
This is on Netflix it's called Damnation.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, so I just thought, like, we've got characters that we can get behind that are very cryptic, but then when we have someone who is actually, a comrade, this preacher character, suddenly people making the TV show are like, oh, in order for him to be the protagonist, he's got to be fighting, white nationalists that are wearing hoods and lynching people, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because you need that juxtaposition. The only way to make communism look remotely good is we need to have someone who's pure evil. Because, America.
Yeah, America. And so on and so forth.
Because even in Batman the Red Hood, right? I don't want to give too much away, but the Red Hood is like, he's not even the main good guy. He's not sided with Batman. Batman's trying to work against him, but the Red Hood is saying, no, I'm trying to clean up crime. I'm trying to, control it, make sure that it's reducing. This is a guy that we could, get behind because he's trying to change the conditions of these people that are turning to crime.
Please.
But no, they've written him as the villain.
Please tell me, every time he confronts Batman, and Batman's like, "I've cornered you now, Red Hood. You're a murderer. You're trying to destabilize the city. You're fighting crime completely the wrong way." And Red Hood just throws a copy of Combat Liberalism right at his face. Fuck you!
Literally, Batman. No. Instead of Batman under the Red Hood, it's Batman under the Red Book.
Little Red Book.
Oh, God,
he just throws a copy of Combat Liberalism right at his fucking face.
Yeah, literally,
This is you. This is you. Stop.
Calling a fascist a liberal. Holy shit.
I think that'd be hilarious. Just just imagine fucking Red Hood launches a protracted people's war against the city.
10 out of 10 would support.
I'd actually think that'd be hilarious.
So I hate to distract from the thing, but from the main distract from the main topic. But Batka, you were mentioning the DAX performance index.
Yeah,
it just dropped to 2.48% down, and then it's jumped a little bit up to 2.31%. So it's crashing. The DAX, I think, is crashing a little bit.
Oh, but it rose just a bit. I wanted it to keep on going down.
It will. Because it looks, it will keep drop. I suppose it will drop a bit more because the market will start to oh fuck, what's going on? How big is it? And they will be removing the money. The capital will start to flow away, and they will be like fuck. They will be saying this fuck for a couple of days at least, and then we'll see what will happen. But my eyes turn red as the Dow Jones and our flags, and it's amazing. It's so funny. It's so fun to sit there, smile and look at the market crash.
And I will admit, there is a bit of. I'm so glad that I have a smug Pepe Ancom avatar, because I can literally because I'm about to basically make this video with a guy named Danov, and basically debunking this guy from Joseph Klein. He basically said, well, you see, capitalism actually creates wealth and creates poverty. And given the shit that we have just seen in the past couple of days, and all these businesses go out because of a market, I just feel this overwhelmingly smug aura just overtake me. I just feel like uber smug now.
Yeah.
And I literally, I mean, it basically just kind of feels like I wish I was kind of like a left-wing version of Rorschach, because I know the fascists and politicians will look up and shout, "Save us!" And I'll whisper, "I told you so."
No, I was like, no, you got to imagine, as I started my moniker Posadas Pac-Man as a sort of a joke because I'm a trot. So it's kind of like, I'm a hard left trot, but what's really good for memeing on YouTube? This. So I'll go with that. And then I feel myself steadily becoming less ironic of a Posadas day by day, because it's just like,
as you watch that graph just plummet to the ground, you think, oh, the nukes are going to follow that, just slam into the ground.
No, because the reason I'm becoming less ironic is because I just see, every PragerU video I watch, every single little reactionary thing, you just, Trump and the right and everything, like every little thing they do, like, it just pushes me a little bit further, a little bit further.
Well, speaking of like pushing people like further to the left, if you had to sit your friend down in front of, say, a movie or TV show, and use that movie or TV show to radicalize them, which one would you show them?
Easy, Shinsekai Yori, which I'm doing a video on soon. Plug. Anime series, basically, TLDR, humanity develops psychic powers. Everybody, the class system, of course, implodes, because now it doesn't matter if you're bourgeois or not. If the working class and the bourgeois, various members of that is, not everyone can do it, but both members of the bourgeoisie and members of the proletariat can now snap your neck with their brain. So the class system disintegrates, society collapses, and everybody dies. And then eventually the only way they can sort of control it is by genetically modifying and psychologically conditioning people to sort of, basically your body commits suicide if you kill another human being. But that only means is, what are we going to do for labor if we can't use the monopoly of violence to force our way? How do we do it? So they genetically engineer a slave species called monster rats, and this whole second half of that entire anime is what happens when the monster rats gain class consciousness. Literally, it is. The second half of that anime is part of. I showed TK one of the speeches that he gives near the end of the anime, which I won't spoil, but it will be in the video. And he's just like, what happens? Like, as long as the queens are in command of our colony, reform was impossible. So we. And it's like, why did you rebel against humanity? Why did you try to overthrow the humans? And he basically says it. He doesn't say it literally, but he's like, humans with their psychic power have the monopoly on violence, and you use us as slaves. So we gained class consciousness and decided we're going to try and kill you.
Jesus.
Yeah,
and that's
logical. Class contradictions in action.
Yeah, but like, there's this whole bit where he's like, everybody from now, we've overthrown the queen, so now everybody owns their own part of the colony, and everybody is assigned to a job that they are perfectly suited for to advance the needs of the group as a whole.
Yeah.
So
Republic.
So
Socialist
each
Republic.
according to each person has got inalienable rights and freedoms, and is assigned a job particularly suited to them, in which they have full representation in the local diet. And it's just like, from each according to his ability to each according to his need. And I'm like, yes, comrade!
There it
yes!
is. There's that line.
Rats.
Comrade rats.
Rats are the real comrades.
The video is going to be something like 40 minutes long, but I'm hoping my subscribers and even some of your subscribers, guys, will come and watch it, because I'm planning on doing a series where I do Marxist analysis of anime. And my plan is one on, one off. So I have one serious one, which is Shin Sakai Yori, which is like, I'm going to go in depth. And then the next one is going to be like the Love Live School Idol project or something. And it's just going to be fucking piss take the whole way through.
So,
I'll
yeah,
make you a channel near you.
yeah. So Batco, what if you had to sit someone down in front of a piece of media to convert them to leftism? What media would you put them in front of?
Well, I would put them in front of The Big Short. I think would be that'd be a great one. Everyone keeps on saying, you got to see The Big Short. You got to see The Big Short. And The Big Short is just it's a dang good it's a dang good film. It talks a lot. It gives a bit of a very in-depth analysis as to why capitalism fucking sucks. And basically, it does. Basically, they said because you kind of think I was kind of taken on a run, and they even say, so what happens next? You expect that the bankers, get put to justice. They're brought before a court of law. The system turns out fine. No, of course that doesn't fucking happen. They get off with bail.
Oh.
They actually say that they get off with bail, and the only guy who was arrested had little to no part in it. But they basically and they only gave him a X amount of sentences, while people were able just to be bailed out and not assigned to any form of justice.
Hello guys, I'm back.
Oh, yeah, good to have you back. We were just talking about if you had to sit someone down in front of a TV show or movie to convert them into being a comrade, what would you show them?
Star Trek.
Star Trek.
Fully automated luxury gay space communism.
Why Star Trek though?
In action,
specifically.
In action,
because it's the future.
No, but there is a lot of scenes in Star Trek, as a mad Trekkie myself, where the class consciousness is real.
They literally say that they're communists, basically, without saying they're communists. They say we have no money, we have what we want. If you want a thing, you can have it. We now we don't fight anymore. We've cured all the diseases. We're now doing exploration and discovering and science. That's all we do, because this is what excites us as humans, because everything else is barbaric.
Oh, yeah.
They literally say that capitalism is barbaric. And everything that we do is barbaric. Wars, capitalism, money.
There's that scene on DS9 where one of the Ferengis, who's works for another Ferengi, discovers Karl Marx and Das Kapital and the Communist Manifesto, and he gets all the other workers to...
And he forms a union, yes!
Yeah, he forms a union, and then, the main one comes in and is like, what are you doing? What's all this getting the workers to strike? And he's like, no longer will we be oppressed by you, the bourgeoisie, from each according to his ability to each according to his need. And you can see the look on the other guy's face of both I don't entirely know what you're saying, but I know I'm fucked.
He was like...
But you're forgetting the quintessential line, though. He actually says, after he calculates it and he sends a message, he gets a message back and it says, "Workers of the world unite."
Yeah, he does.
That's the one, yeah.
And they all sort of look at it, and he's like, no, my favorite is Quark's reaction, because he walks in there, the reaction of a reactionary, literally. He walks in there, and he's like, you're going to let us keep our tips, and you're going to give us a raise. It's like, this smells like a union. They're illegal on Ferenginar, and it's like...
Why am I not surprised?
No, it's just like, when there's an episode where he becomes Grand Nagus, and there's a massive feminist movement led by Quark's mother, which is fucking hilarious. And Grandma, there's this whole scene where where he meets, Quark thinks he's going to be named the next Grand Nagus. So what happens is he's sort of sitting there, and he gets the former FBI DEA agent or whatever, not the IRS, basically a Ferengi version of the IRS, a former inspector, chief executive Brunt or whatever, and he starts kissing his ass because he thinks he's going to be the next Nagus, so he becomes his personal servant and handyman. And rule of acquisition number 134, it never hurts to suck up to the boss. Anyway, what happens is he's like, well, well, what's going to happen is, they don't teach the rules of acquisition anymore. It's starting to get ridiculous. What about this? Did you know what happens? Well, you see, they've raised income tax on all things on Ferenginar. What? In collateral form? Yep, they needed money to fund all the social programs. But taxes strike at the very heart of free enterprise. That's why they call it free. It's like, wait a minute. It's like, well, what's happened? Well, things change. Well, they're going to change back. Well, I'm sorry, you can't do that. Well, one of the social reforms passed was that the legislative body now has to give permission for the Grand Nagus to sign legislation. Don't worry, you'll still be a powerful man, but you just need to clear it with the assembly first. So what are the taxes for? Well, they're used to fund all the social programs, such as free healthcare for the elderly and for the citizenry, public environmental protection programs to protect Ferenginar's biodiversity. Stop! I had no idea things had gotten so bad. We're going to look like a Federation planet.
God damn, we fucking need to do like a whole fucking the Eureka Socialist gang watches Star Trek.
Oh fuck yes! I'll
That'd be
set up
great.
that live stream. Everybody together, we'll do it.
Yeah.
DS9.
So yeah, Eugene, I think we'll wrap up with you, Eugene. What piece of media would you use to convert someone?
Any old or new media that is based on Slavic folk tales. So this is Pushkin and his Slavic folk tales, and all of the, poetry that is based in folk. And I just show who are the enemies in those folk tales. Of course, sometimes those are the beasts, like witches and hags, that live in the forest. But occasionally they are the ones who are helping the heroes. Most often, the enemy of the normal person who just lives there of his own labor in Slavic folktales are either, mostly it's the priests. Literally the priests. Because they lie and they use ideology to basically brainwash people into loving them, and they don't care about God, they care about their own riches, and they use religion to perpetuate an ideology, which is still happening. They have been talking about that since day one here. Don't trust the priests. Priests are literally a fat ass enemy of the people. And also those are
Amen.
The lords who are in Russian folktales, priests are always greedy and kings are always tyrannical. And they always stand in the way of the people to do the thing. Either they destroy the arts, they just kill the people who speak truth to power, or they try to trick a hard-working peasant. And all of those tales are literally about that, except for ones that are written by the nobility. But mostly it's the folk tales. They always have the people struggle against those powerful ones who are never on the same side as them. And I show that and tell you, hey, that's completely natural to hate those people. We have been talking about that since day one. And that's pretty much it. I recommend looking into Russian folk. It's really good.
Nice.
Oh, Russian folk tales. So that's why
they're great.
That's why the revolution started in Russia.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's there was this story about this priest who said, oh, fuck, I know exactly what I have to do. I need a slave. I want a literal slave of a worker. Hey, buddy, come here. You know what? You'll work for me for free for 3 years, right? And then I will pay. You will pay me by hitting me hard on the head. It's weird concept, but here you go. You'll work for me. Do anything I ask you, but then you get to hit me really hard. And he's like, you know what? I agree. I'll work for you for 3 years. And the rest 3 years he spends living in luxury, right? And the last month he's like, fuck. What the fuck how do I get away with it? And he spends the last month sitting there being paranoid that the working class is coming for him. And you know what happened in the end? He didn't manage to trick the guy because he's like, yeah, fuck off, dude. And he hits him that hard on the head that the priest basically dies. Like, it's not said outright in the story, but that's it. Bye-bye. Oh, Tiki just messaged me and said that his internet went down. And I don't know whether he's coming back. Should we?
Alrighty,
I will ask
well-
him if we should.
Oh, wait,
Oh, he's back. Oh,
He's
Hello.
back.
TK? Yes.
Hey, sorry about that. My net just died. Elon Musk.
Build that battery, Elon.
Build the fucking battery again. Build a second one.
Build a second battery.
Sorry, what did I miss out on?
Well, I'm actually going to ask. I'm actually
yeah.
going to ask any Australian comrades who are watching, including all of us here, if y'all can make it down to Ballarat in Victoria in the next 3 weeks, we'll have a party.
Party in
Eureka Socialist
Ballarat.
Gang. Eureka Socialist Gang is assembling in Ballarat in 3 weeks' time. So be there or be, I don't know, a cuck, I guess.
Hey,
All
we
right.
have a new Patreon on Eastern Marshlands. I'd like to give a shout out to Molten Keep for pledging $5. Thank you.
Ah,
What a
brilliant.
legend!
All right, lads. Do you think that's a good time to wrap up then?
I think it's a good time. Yeah.
On a
Yeah,
positive
it's great. Thank you very much.
No
That was
problem.
great.
Thanks everybody for joining us, and thank you to Batco, Glatux, Pac-Man, and Eugene for joining us. Don't
Hey!
forget to like and subscribe, and visit easternmarshlands.com to keep up to date with everything Eastern Marshlands. Thanks to everyone in the live chat for joining us, and if you'd like to, you can join us on the Discord to hang out after the show, and we'll be back next week, hopefully, so long as the revolution doesn't kick off when the DAX crashes by 3,000%.
It's
Remember, kids, save a life. Molotov your stock exchange. That is all.
All right. See you guys then.
Later, boys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.